Hey friend, my wife Judy said to me, she said, that story that you tell, the one I'm about to tell you, is her favorite story. She said it's one of the best, if not the best stories from my business career of God's provision, of his miraculous provision that she's ever heard me share. And she said, the problem is, honey, she said, when you're asked to share it in a short form, like with Os Hillman, he asked me to tell that story in 5 minutes or less, which I did, approximately. I said if you play at a double speed, it makes the time limit. But she said it leaves out some very important details. She said, I like it better when you tell the full story. So I'm recording this video for you, the unedited, unscripted, true and full account of the day that will forever live in my memory as one of the greatest days of my life. It's a miracle story. It was the day that I, as a young copier salesman, age 24, almost 24, just before my 24th birthday, so I was still 23, made more individual copier sales to different businesses in one single day than anybody in all of recorded history, on planet Earth, in any country, and frankly, on any planet in our solar system has ever made in the history of time. Okay, it's a truly miraculous story, and I want to share it with you. Now, here's how it goes. It was August of 1939, 1979, I'm not that old. It was August 31st of 1979. And as I said, I was a young copier salesman. And in that business, this is what's important to understand. In that business, we had a monthly quota to make 4 sales a month. Now, we had very few selections, so that would always come up to pretty close to quota. It'd come up to about $22,000, something like that. And in a 3-month period, we're expected or asked or required as a quota to make 13 sales, or basically $66,000 worth of business. And so that was the quarterly quota that we had. Now, some of you know what a quota is. You've probably had to live with that in your sales careers at some time or other. But 15 to 20% of the sales team, and we had several branches throughout Western Canada, only 15 to 20% of the people would actually ever make their quota in a given 3-month period. So here we are entering into August. Now, August in 1979 was our year end, August 31st. We'd already done June and July, and it already had a pretty good 2 months. In fact, I'd already actually made my quota by the end of July. I'd already hit my $66,000, so I was like in great shape. And that meant when you hit the quota, you got a 3% bonus on all business written during the quarter. So it was an automatic $2,000 bonus, and in anything else you sold in that same quarter, you got an extra 3%, or which would be 30% higher commission rate. So it was fantastic, right? So our month end in July was, I don't remember the date, July 28th or something like that, whatever Friday was, the last Friday in July, which meant that we had a longer sales cycle in the month of August. We actually had 5 full weeks in the month of August that we could go and make our sales. So I was thinking, okay, this is my chance to really, this is the end of the year. There's a contest. Some of you guys have been in contests, you know what this is about. And we were in this contest, and I really wanted to do well. I mean, I remember I went to the church on the first day of the month, and I said, here's $1,000. Please give this to somebody in need. Just don't tell them where it came from. I mean, I was like covering every base I could think of. It's just what I did. I'm just telling you, I'm not saying you should do that or anything else. I'm just saying that's what I did. Like, just put everything, put it all on the line, so to speak. So I went ahead, and in my first week, you know, I went out and tried to make sales. Now, I had business that I didn't close in July that I thought, okay, I'll close next week, first week of August. Well, I went out, and after the first week, I hadn't made any sales. I was 0, and I thought, Lord, I thought some of these deals that didn't close in July were going to close right in the first week of August, and what's going on? He said, basically, don't worry about it. Actually, what he said was, trust me. I said, okay, I can trust you. You know why? Now, pay attention. This is so important. I said, there's still 4 weeks left. And that's how many weeks are in a typical month. 4 weeks. This is a 5-week month because of when our month ends were. So yeah, I said, I can still trust you, no problem. But then after 2 weeks had come and gone, I hadn't made no sales. And I was like, that's almost like halfway through a month. I said, Lord, what's going on? I've been working really hard. I've been making my calls, and some of the people I thought were going to buy said no. or they bought from a competitor, something like that. Like, what am I supposed to do here? And he said, trust me. I said, okay, I can trust you, because if you think about it, that's still like a half a month. In fact, it's even a longer half a month, because there's 3 weeks left. So after 3 weeks, after the third week is over, how many sales did I have? I had 0, no sales after 3 weeks. And I went to the Lord and I said, Lord, we're 3 weeks into this thing and I'm the only guy that doesn't have any sales. What am I supposed to do here? And he said, this is so important. Trust me. This is the theme of this video. This is very, very important to you, and it's still reverberating in my life to this day. So I thought, well, after 3 weeks, no sales, I still have 2 weeks left. And if you think about it, 2 weeks is like a half a month. And a lot of times, more of your business came in the last half of the month than the first half, so I still got a good chance of getting some business. The fourth week came and went, and I didn't have any sales. And I'm still like, Lord, what's going on here? Not only is he telling me to trust him, but worse than that, or to put it that way, but you know what I mean. Everything I thought I might have a chance at closing had disappeared. No more hot leads, no more warm leads, and I was actually cold calling. Now, I'm in the copy business. That's where you call on a business and try to find somebody who might be interested in one, and then they want to try yours and try somebody else's and 2 or 3 companies and get quotes and bids. It's usually a 30-day sales cycle. I'm cold calling on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday, and after 4 weeks and 4 days, I still had 0 sales. I was also on straight commission. I was facing a 0 month, and I was really uncomfortable. Have you ever been there? You ever been in that situation, like, okay, the month is coming to an end, and maybe you're counting on your commissions to make your bills, pay your mortgage, your car payment, whatever it is, feed your family, those kinds of things, and then it's not happening? You ever been there? I was there. And to make it worse, I was like, I didn't even know what to do. He just kept telling me to trust him, which, of course, I said, of course I trust you. But now we're down to Thursday night. And I'm at the office in the evening, maybe 8 o'clock at night, I don't know. And one of the salespeople there, he said, can I pray for you? And I said, sure. We put a chair in the middle of the room. He laid his hands on me and he prayed for me. I got to tell you, I have no idea what he said. But let me tell you what happened. Because what happened was the most dramatic thing that, it was unprecedented. It was not something that normally happened in my life. And there's a bit of a breeze blowing. I hope that doesn't mess up the sound too bad. Hopefully you can still hear this clearly. But what happened that night, when he laid his hands on me, I shut my eyes and he said whatever he said, but a vision. I describe it as a video clip, like a movie trailer, like that begins to play like an advertisement for a movie that you might have seen on TV or someplace. And you see the ad playing and it shows you the movie. Well, I had my eyes closed. I wasn't paying attention to what he said, because there was this movie that began to play in my head. And in the movie, now catch this, in the movie, I'm standing in a swimming pool in the shallow end, waist deep, with Jesus standing right beside me. And I'm watching this video and it's playing in my mind. And in the movie that's playing in my head, Jesus says to me, how would you like it if I baptized you, full immersion, right? Put you underwater, but in this case, I'll hold you underwater for 60 seconds and I will supernaturally enable you to breathe, to inhale while you're underwater. Would you like that? And I said, oh, Jesus, I would love that. I hate having to always come up for breath. It'd be nice to be able to stand there and all that. So I said, yeah, let's do it. Now, this is all in a movie. I'm watching the movie. I'm a spectator watching the movie that I'm in with Jesus. So in the movie, he baptizes me. He puts me underwater, holds me there for 60 seconds. After 60 seconds, he brings me up. When I came out of the water, I was sputtering. I was going, I did it. I held my breath. I didn't inhale. I didn't trust him. I was attempting to do the miraculous in my own strength. And I realized I'd been doing that for 4 weeks and 4 days. And what's worse is I didn't know what to do about it. Because I realized I'd only been saying I trust him, but I was putting all my marbles, all my bet, all my everything into my labors. and I was coming up, not only short, I was coming up with nothing. So I didn't know what to do with that. So the next day, Friday, the last day of the month, I got 8 hours before the year is over for us, right? And I get up and I say, I don't have any leads. I don't have anything. Nobody's expecting me to call them, anything. And I got in my car, and it was my first or second call. I think it was my first call. If I'm not mistaken, it was the administrator for a church. And I went there, I don't know, we'll say it was 9 o'clock in the morning, something like that. I pulled into the parking lot, and he was loading up his car, getting ready to head out of town, because August 31st, as you can imagine, was the beginning of Labor Day weekend. It was a Friday. And so he said, what are you doing here? I didn't have an appointment. I hadn't talked to him in months. And I said something to the effect like, hey, we talked, 6 months ago, and I just thought maybe, or whatever I said, like that. And he looked at me and he said, well, you're lucky you caught me. I was just getting ready to head out for the weekend. Come on inside. We went inside, and he bought a copier. It was like, oh my gosh, the timing of that was amazing. I now wasn't going to have a 0 month. I was actually going to earn some money and pay a little bit, right, of my bills. And then I went to the second guy, and he bought a copier. Now listen, to my knowledge, had never made 2 sales on the same day ever. You're going to make 4 sales in a month. Maybe 15 to 20% of the guys did that, the rest didn't. So you didn't usually get 2 sales in the same day, but I had 2 sales in the same day, and I kept going. And the third guy I talked to bought a copier. And then, catch this, the fourth person I went to, before lunch actually, but it was the fourth person I went to in a row. I think it was a lawyer. And he looked at me and said, what are you doing here? Because we hadn't talked in months. And I said, well, several months ago we talked about blah, blah, blah. He said, you know what? You're lucky you caught me. I was just going to tidy up and head out early today. It's a long weekend and I was going to be gone. But yeah, okay, I'll buy your copier. He bought it. I'd made my quota for the month in those first 4 calls. But then the 5th person in a row bought a copier, and the 6th person bought a copier, and then the 7th person in a row bought a copier. Then the 8th person, which was, I didn't even get to call on them. It was the Royal Columbian Hospital. They were in my territory, and they called in a purchase order for a $7,975 copier at the time. It was my 8th sale of the day. I didn't even know it was even in their thinking. But then the 9th person in a row bought a copier, and the 10th person in a row bought a copier, and then the 11th person in a row bought a copier. Are you catching this? Everybody I'm talking to, not except for the waitress at lunch, bought a copier. Then the 12th person in a row bought a copier. Every single human being bought a copier. I got into the office with 12 orders, $56,000 worth of business, and there was a message on the message board from a company that said, hey, can you please mail me the brochure on your new reduction copier? I called the guy. He was working late on Labor Day weekend. Can you believe it? I said, no, I won't mail it. I'll bring it over. It took me 30 minutes to get to where he was. I came in. He took a look at it, and he bought $10,000. That gave me 13 sales in one day, $66,000 worth of business, which was 3 months quota that, like I say, 15 to 20% of the guys ever make in a quarter. Got it in one day with every single human being, as I said, except for the waitress at lunch, buying a copier. That, my friends, is stunning. Now, I have a question for you. Do you think for a minute it was because I finally learned to ask the magic closing question? Like, make some kind of fantastic offer. Had nothing to do with that. Has everything to do with what I've been talking about in my recent blogs about Apollos and about Paul who said, I planted, Apollos watered, but God gave the increase. This in my mind was just like when Simon Peter in Luke 5, Jesus comes across the scene, and there they are, they've been fishing all night, caught nothing, and Jesus said, hey, let your boat go out into the deep and let your nets down for a draught, or the word there literally means for a haul, a big catch. And Peter says, we've been doing this all night. We hadn't caught anything. But nevertheless, at your word, I will. And so they go out in the deep, throws the net in, and they bring in so many fish, it almost sank two boats. So many fish that he said they began to sink, 2 boats full. And Peter said, depart from me, Lord. I'm unclean. I'm not worthy. I'm a sinner. He knew that it wasn't because he finally figured out which side of the boat to throw the net on. He knew it wasn't because they finally found the fishing hole where all the fish were. He knew that it was Jesus Christ. He knew that it was a miracle. Just like I know that that day when I went out and I was like the same thing, nevertheless, Lord, I'm just going to go out and trust you. I have no expectation now because I've pushed on I've done everything I know how to do humanly. I'm just going to go out and do what I do. Just like Paul planted, Apollos watered, but God gives the increase. And that day, God gave an increase. And I have to confess to you that that message of trusting him still reverberates and challenges me to this day to truly trust him. Yes, Peter, Simon as he is called in Luke 5, would never have caught the fish had he not gone back out in the deep and thrown the net in. There was still something for him to do. But it wasn't like Jesus said, hey, just try a little harder, boys. And maybe better luck next time. Try a different spot. You know, he gave them a command. He said, go out, let your net down for a catch, or what it literally is, for a haul of fish. H-A-U-L, a haul of fish. He was telling him what would happen. And Peter believed him. So I want you to think about that and say, where have I been thinking I've been trusting the Lord, but in truth, been 100% reliant on my own skills, my own talent, my own hard work, my own effort, my own personality, my own whatever. And say, you know what, Lord? Teach me to trust you completely because you are worthy. Well, friends, that's the longer version. I hope it blesses you. Thank you. And listen, if you like any of this stuff, like it, share it, put it everywhere you can. I'm wanting to encourage people how to walk in the marketplace, do very, very well in the marketplace, but not be all about you and your skills. It's about, you do learn skills. Skills are important and all those kinds of things are very valuable, but not to do it separate from the Lord. I still want to know how to trust him. I still want you to know how to do that, how to walk in that trust and in that favor with Jesus Christ, with his word, with the Father, with the Holy Spirit. So anyway, that's it. Got to run. God bless you all. See you in the next video. Bye-bye for now.